Constantly.
Yeah. All right. Well, you may now continue.
Okay, so do you see my presentation?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. My name is John Nee. I am a adjunct faculty here at USC. I have had a variety of roles in pop culture for the past 35 years. My background originally is as a software product manager for very high-end, very expensive imaging tools that were primarily used for the graphic arts trade. This is all pre-Photoshop, pre-everything. And I migrated into comic book publishing, and then from there, as you guys can see, that comics touch every form of media, from film, TV, consumer products, interactive gaming, digital, interactive storytelling, etc. I am currently the CEO of a company called Cryptozoic Entertainment. Stephen, that is new since we spoke. My business partner passed away suddenly 2 weeks ago, and I have inherited his role. And we are in a transition state. I'll go through the various activities that we do. My first role in entertainment was working at a company called Wildstorm Productions. Wildstorm Productions was sold to DC Comics in 1998. I moved to DC Comics. Wildstorm made a lot of independent stuff. We'll go through the slate of stuff there. I think it's stuff you're familiar with. I have worked on every major franchise in some sort of capacity in the past 30 years. So Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Punisher, the Avengers, Iron Man, and a bunch of original things. And so the reason why I ask, what does everyone want to do? Because for me, the thing that I want to do most is to create original IP and original content. And I do love very much working on branded things. I cannot tell you what a blast it was to work on Spider-Man, but at the end of the day, I would much rather create something from scratch. To that end, I've started late in life, and I've become a novelist. I have my debut novel is coming out in spring of 2024. It's based on a very famous Chinese detective named Judge Di. It's not obvious, but I have Chinese heritage. My father was from Shanghai, and my mother was from Tennessee. They met in the 50s when my father was a Fulbright scholar at the University of Tennessee. And I feel like in general in this world today that the people really misunderstand the relationship between China and the West, and that I'm hoping through narrative fiction to, in an entertaining way, expose the history of modern China as it pertains to the West from the late 1800s. Right? So, but again, all I really want to do is to create original IP and have that original IP be entertaining and informative. So a lot of my talk today is very centered around, like, what do you do to create entertainment franchises? So I'm going to give you guys the starter presentation for C10 497A. You're all welcome to enroll in it next semester. I would appreciate it if you do. You don't have to. But we go through this class. Stephen was my essay, my first 3 classes I did We have an incredible roster of guest lecturers that come in, ranging from people who run individual studios up through, the managing partner of Griffin Games, who are the world's largest game fund, and they make big investments into big ideas with people like you. All right, so I like to suggest that the reason why people should take my class is because it teaches them that the world is not fair. Okay. There are great games that have great budgets and great marketing, and they don't catch hold. It used to be that if you made a great game, you were pretty assured of success, but the way that the world has evolved, that's no longer the case. And one of those things frequently is that as developers, developers may ignore business and marketing fundamentals such as shipping on time, staying within budget, not changing scope, etc. And good management can fix a lot of those ills. Lots of great companies go out of business. I can tell you that in its history, if you talk to folks at Epic Games or Valve, well, I don't think Valve has had any hard times really since, I'm going to say, Orange Box. But Valve just has, like, they could make a $500 million game, have it fail, and they'd still be fine because of the platform charges. And what I'm hoping, if you go all the way through the classes, help you get started. And a lot of the lessons that you can learn here are applicable and across all life. All right. So, and who should take this class? I think all of you should take this class because a lot of times creative people don't understand the business aspects of their lives, while there are people over at Marshall who are being steeped in training in order to learn how to take advantage of people like you. It's that simple. And so they're over there reading Machiavelli and Robert Greene and all of these books on how to gain competitive advantages over people. And that's a powerful motivator. A lot of times people may want to publish their own student game, and this can help prepare you for that. There's no reason for you not to know your business. It's just and it's dangerous to trust. Well, honestly, this class can help protect you from people like me. Okay, because I am an aggressive businessman who worked at the Walt Disney Company, Marvel, DC, Warner Brothers, and my fundamental role at Warner Brothers was to acquire rights for the company from people like you. Okay, so, and I did my job very, very well. Here's my history. I started before 1992. I was working on, I basically made a image processing piece of software that was about as complex as Photoshop 2.0. And that's what I had done in my career up until 1992. I had a few other jobs in product management. If all of you should go through the exercise of shipping something that discipline will stick with you the rest of your life. And it's, you know, on time, on budget, make it very good. We sold the company to DC Comics in 1998. I stayed there 10 years. During that time, I continued to run Wildstorm Productions, and then I was promoted to the head of business development for the company. I oversaw about 30% of DC Comics overall business, and that included a lot of very mundane, straightforward business operations like sale of comic books to Barnes and Noble, licensing reprint rights in French to Panini, the video game business. So I oversaw DC's video game business, and the way that we split that up was between media and core. And media was if a game was based on a film or TV show, that would go through Warner Brothers in Burbank. If it was based on a comic book, it would go through me in New York. And it's interesting how that evolved, because the Lego, the DC Universe online MMO from Daybreak and Sony Online, Mortal Kombat versus DC, and the Arkham games were viewed to be core games. And it was just sort of this sort of prescient moment where there was the they became their own thing. Like when you think of, like, you don't think of Batman Arkham Asylum as a Batman comic book game. You think of it as a Batman game, and the fact that it's not tied into a film or TV show doesn't matter. It's just like so we created a universe from scratch that didn't exist before. From 2008 to 2010, I was independent. I worked on a bunch of stuff, so I made a site called Print Warcraft, and it would allow you to take your avatar from WoW and then put it on a mousepad, t-shirt, poster, any kind of thing. You could do group shots with your guild. And it was super, super popular from a user perspective, because it would allow you to, you could have a shot of your character in gear in front of Anixia dead, and so and people would use the service. And there's a point to me talking about this, because it's like, because I didn't see this at the time, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I had tens of thousands of users using it to compose photographs of, or compose images of their characters in Azeroth, and none of them were buying anything. And I was so focused on converting those users into customers that I didn't realize that I had kind of invented Instagram for WoW. All right. I mean, just so they'd make these images and they'd share them, and it was just like this whole weird community. And all I could think of was these people who weren't paying me money were, because this is a time when, and I'll talk about some of the decisions that we had made there. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. Since 2010, I've been a partner in a company called Cryptozoic Entertainment. You can find them at cryptozoic.com, and we make all kinds of collectible trading cards, toys. If you guys know Scott Rogers, this board game right here, he designed that game. We put out a few hundred titles. Our flagship product was called the World of Warcraft trading card game. We did all kinds of great things with it. It became the foundation of of Hearthstone. Literally, I mean, they just, made a digital version of WoW TCG, simplified it, and made, this CCG that makes $500 million a year. We knew that that game was going to end, so we started another company. We built a and I'm talking about this stuff, and I'm going to say more than half the things I do have failed. Okay, let's just also highlight that as a reality, because we made a game called Hex Shards of Fate as a sort of with the intent of disrupting the trading card game space by giving a really good digital option to TCG players at the time, which they did not have. And, it didn't work. We made a great game. And then, there's a third act turnaround that we can talk about. And then in 2018, I was offered the role of head of publishing for Marvel Entertainment. So I got to run Marvel Comics for 3 years. It was a tremendous blast. I got laid off during the pandemic. I can tell you that I got incredible employee reviews and was treated very well, but that didn't save my job. And so there's that life lesson. All right, so here's some of the stuff that I've worked on, and I'm pretty stoked about it. So if you've seen the film Red, starring Bruce Willis and Morgan Freeman, Helen Mirren, that was a comic produced at Wildstorm, created by Warren Ellis, who is an absolute, I mean, if you look him up, please don't look him up. Content warning, trigger warning, not an awesome person. But this comic book here became 2 big Hollywood movies. Ball and Chain, the title next to it, is at Netflix with Emily Blunt and The Rock, starring as a couple who have superpowers. And I'm not sure that this is going to be made, but Netflix paid a bundle of money for the rights to this. And it's a couple, they're going through a divorce, they're hit by a meteor, the meteor gives them superpowers and they can save the earth, but the only thing that happens is that their superpowers only work when they're together. Winona Earp, that was a 4-season show on Sci-Fi. It's a sort of a paranormal investigator in the West, and pretty fun. Lego Batman, and this is just one of those interesting things where this product was something, all of the games except for the DC Universe game were being actively tried to be murdered by my colleagues, including this one. And it has become one of the biggest video game franchises in the world. It led to Warner Brothers buying Traveler's Tale, and led to a lot of extensions, including Lego Marvel, Lego Harry Potter, Lego Indiana Jones, Lego Rock Band. I think they have over Legoed, but it's still a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Mortal Kombat versus the DC Universe. There's a story there. I'll tell that at the end if we have time. But, that led to Warner Brothers buying Midway and NetherRealm. I published a comic called The Boys, which, unfortunately, because of the very dark tone of the series, I had to give it back to the creators, and they were able to subsequently set it up at Amazon for a show. It's one of the best performing shows on Amazon Prime. I'm particularly fond of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I like to tell people the truth, and that is we paid Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill between them $7,500 to do the first issue of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And even before that issue had come out, and again, there's a story here, I'll tell it at the end. Alan was able to sell the film rights, and I promise you that between the film and home video at Fox, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen resulted in over $1 billion of revenue. And another game series that I'm very, very proud of is the Batman Arkham Asylum series that was produced at Rocksteady. We did the original creative development for that title at Wildstorm. Jim Lee was supposed to do the initial art design, but he was really too busy working on the DC Universe Online game. So we assigned that to a guy named Carlos Deanda, who, and there's a story here too, do the visual development. And we hired Paul Dini to do the story. And one of the observations that I will have is that there are two kinds of people in this world. There are people who earn credit and there's people who take credit. And Arkham was not a popular title inside of Warner Brothers at the time because we were trying to do games tied into movies. You guys are all of the age that you were probably given a Harry Potter game when you were kids, and that was the model that they were trying to go after with day and date movie tie-ins. And so I was handed this as a sort of, consolation prize because I had alienated Pandemic and Electronic Arts by saying in a room that at our kickoff meeting that their game wasn't going to ship. And so, there's this saga there. And if we don't get to it, I am happy to come back and sort of give additional color. And then finally, the DC Universe. And the thing about the DC Universe is that sometimes you just have to believe. And this game started out as a 5-year deal, and it was going to be 3 years of development and 2 years of live operation. And it was late and way over budget. And it ended up shipping after 7 years. I quit my job before the game shipped. And now, 15 years later, the game's still running. It makes a lot of money and it's pretty popular. There's not a Marvel MMO still, and there's reasons for that. Okay, so if you please don't look this up because I'm giving you the source, but an entrepreneur is someone who organizes, manages, and assumes risks of a business or enterprise. Very straightforward. And anyone can do it. People are very, very concerned about labels and whether they've earned the label or whether the label is appropriate or whatever. But, entrepreneurship comes in so many forms, and it's usually, I say causing something to exist that doesn't exist, that can exist. Okay, and that literally can be anything. And there are 4 types of entrepreneurship in my view. And weirdly, from a banking perspective in the United States of America, a small business is viewed to be something that has $50 million a year of revenue or less. Cryptozoic has, depending on the year, between $14 and $20 million a year, which sounds like a lot. We have, 50 employees, and it's that's a small business. All right. So go figure, if you guys know the development studio Way Forward up in Carpinteria, they're a small business. And this kind of business is frequently referred to as a lifestyle business because it's intended to support the needs of the owners, right? And so that's the basic thing. But it can be anything from a laundromat to a cafe to making toys to making books. Other businesses are things, and I don't want to sell any of my businesses. I like owning them. It's very stressful. If I had less of them, my life would be more peaceful and easier, but I like doing stuff. There are a few businesses that I would start with the express purpose of selling it. There's some realities that we can walk through if we have enough time. How are we doing on time? Oh my gosh. We have 20 minutes left. I'm going to speed up, sorry. But you're going to build this with the express purpose of selling it and getting rich. So I think good examples of that recently are Obsidian, In Exile, Double Fine, Republic. The owners of those companies just want to make games, and they cashed out and they get paid very well to do that, but they also have tens of millions of dollars in the bank. Finally, on the commercial side, there's the moonshot business, and that's you are going to try and make Facebook or Scopely or whatever, and $1 billion plus. Social entrepreneurship is cool. It's the kind of thing where you're gonna do something, come up with a cure for malaria, reduce the use of cement, create fresh water resource. I mean, just whatever, and clean up the ocean. And the world needs people to do that sort of thing. I'm not going to read this to you. There's a lot of stuff that you can read. I'm a big reader, as you can tell by my books over here, and those are mainly nonfiction reference books. I am more likely to be reading a book on economics on Saturday night than going out with my friends. And I have a pretty lengthy reading list that I'm happy to share. And then here's why people start businesses. They have a vision, they have an idea. I don't personally ever do anything from the perspective of having an idea. Almost every business venture that I get into is based on some kind of observation that something could exist that doesn't exist. So I could get into a lengthy topic about this, but an observation that I recently had that someone could get very, very rich if they made a high quality manufacturer of ball bearings located in the United States. Because right now, almost all ball bearings in the world are made in Germany. And the only thing that makes them special is the way that they are made. There's 3 inputs into making a ball bearing. There is steel, there is energy, and there is labor. And the only thing that and labor, human labor and machine labor, and the only thing that Germany puts into it is labor, or is labor. They do not they import their energy, and we're seeing what's going on right now because they no longer have natural gas, and so Germany is burning wood and coal so they can make ball bearings, and that is so wildly inefficient that if we used oil in Houston, we could take all of the inputs of we have all of the inputs here. We have energy, we have labor, and we have steel. And if anyone wants to become a multi-billionaire, please go do that. I don't want to do that because that is really boring. I don't want to do that. Another reason is because people desperately value their freedom, and that is me. I do not like, it's not that I don't like working for people. I am perfectly comfortable existing in a hierarchy, but I do not like existing in bureaucracies. I find one of the most exhausting bureaucracies that exists in the universe to be the University of Southern California. And I just like do not understand why anyone would choose to work here full time. Is that provocative? I'm not insulting my colleagues, but the fact that they choose to deal with all these forms, I'm just like, oh man, like I just, a lot of people are unemployable. Steve Jobs is unemployable. You will meet thousands of people in the world who are unemployable, and a lot of, like, if Steve Jobs didn't have a lot of charisma, he would have ended up being a homeless person, because he just, like, no one would want to work with the guy because he's just mean. I have started businesses because I was unemployed. Cryptozoic was started because I was unemployed and there was no way of, I needed to earn money and no one was giving me a job. So I did this out of desperation, and it opened up this giant world of opportunity to me where I am always looking at business opportunities, thinking of them, and frequently executing on them. Having security, that's not a terribly good reason to start a business, but some people do it for security, and then they learn that it's not secure. Some people just want to get rich. And if that's you, there are easier ways to do that than working in the video game business. And some people really have this messianic hero complex. And I believe, I believe that Elon Musk believes that in his heart that he is doing the world a service. All of these people work at the apex of thousands and thousands of employees. And if you ever watch a talk by Steve Jobs, you'd think that he created the iPhone, that he went to the beach and smelted sand into glass for the screen. And what he did was he picked stuff, very smart guy, kind of a monster. Walt Disney, from what I've heard, was cheap with prayer. He didn't tell people they did a good work, but kind of a good leader, except when it came to labor unions. His point of view about labor unions in the 50s was disgusting. Jeff Bezos, that guy is a Bond villain. He is an absolute Bond villain. Elon Musk, Bond villain. I am a giant fan of Bob Iger. I worked at Disney when he was there. Bob's point of view is, and understand, and if you guys are Disney people, I reported into Bob Chapek. I didn't report directly to Bob Chapek, but my boss did. And so I'd be in meetings with Bob Chapek, and Bob and Bob are very different people. And I'd say that Bob's greatest gift is his understanding of creativity and willingness to let creative people do great things. Did I talk about Elon Musk? Okay, great. So if you ever take my class, this is the stuff that we would end up covering. And whether you take the class or not, all of these things are important for you to know if you wish to run your own business. They're important to know if you want to work in business. They're important to know even if you have a purely creative role and you work in business and you won't ever work in business, because it will protect you from, well, people like me. And I'm not that way anymore. So here's some statistics. They don't look good. And so I urge all of you, and because it's easy to get very attached to your first thing that you do. Who's doing an AGP here? Anybody? Great. All right, congratulations. It is the first thing you're doing. You're going to do a lot more when you get into life. And I think, it's important to love your AGP. It is the most important thing that you have going. You will remember this the rest of your life. It's not all you're ever going to do. And if you think about it, is that what you like? I think that one of the great lies of Western economy is that, you guys had to decide that you wanted to come here and spend $250,000 when you were 16. I mean, I'm sorry. Thank you. But Stephen heard me say this many times in class. I don't think anybody, I'm not going to decide what I'm going to do for the rest of my life now, and I'm 60 years old. You should not be doing it in your 20s. And commitments and decisions that you make. If you make a bad decision, quit, stop it, go do something else. And they have this saying at Apple that if you're not working well at Apple, you should succeed elsewhere. And I have made a career out of succeeding elsewhere, and then frequently returning, which is an interesting thing. And you got to listen to everybody. I deal with a lot of people who fight for their vision, and you should fight for your vision until it's demonstrated to you that your vision is wrong. And you need to be willing to face that your vision is wrong and quickly pivot and correct from it. You can't necessarily listen to your investors, publishers, media, your fans for your decisions. Don't do that. Listen to them, process, then decide and commit. And once you're committed, commit until you're presented with new information, and then uncommit. Being able to skillfully communicate your vision and goals is critical. Some of the best executives I know, the most successful people I know, are drama majors, because they know how to have a conversation. And and if anyone knows Professor Bilson, do you guys know Danny Bilson? Danny Bilson, I was dating an actor, and I'm not down on actors. I love actors, but this advice was correct. And Danny said, don't date actors. Their job is to make you feel things, even if they don't mean it. And so, and I hope, is that okay for me to say? If it's offensive or triggering, I apologize and I won't do it. It's not okay?
No, I was saying no worries. Like, no, that's not offensive
okay,
at all.
so
No, you're good.
No, but the thing is like, I really think that if you guys took a drama class, that would do you more good than taking a presentation class from a bunch of professors, because we're boring. I can't teach you how to be a storyteller. But to communicate your vision, you have to start with being able to really understand your goals. What are you trying to accomplish? Oh, and that's it. We are done. Okay, let's get some questions.
Hey,
Hello.
I'm Luke. So I like to write comics as a hobby, and my friend is a comics artist. Do you have any advice into breaking into the industry?
Sure. Absolutely. I can't give it to you in 8 minutes, but if you want to work with Luke I'm really busy. My business partner just died and I have inherited an entire CEO
I'm so sorry
role
about that.
that I was not ready for. A couple things we could do is wait until we can find some time on campus. And that can happen between now and any time in the future. I've told Stephen that, you know, you're stuck with me forever now. I will always be your friend, and you can ask me questions. You can ask for connections. Hit me up on LinkedIn. If I know someone on LinkedIn well and you want to meet them, and there's a good reason to meet them, I will introduce you. Luke, are you a comics fan?
Oh yeah, definitely.
What do you read?
I really like Deadly Class. I really like Tom King's Batman run.
Okay. All right. So straightforward Western comics. Do you read
Yeah.
webtoons or manga at all?
One Piece, a lot of One Piece. And
I
some
have
other
a line. I want to make a One Piece movie board game.
Oh,
Um,
that'd be cool.
but if you want to set up a time, we can get coffee or lunch on campus. If you can come to Irvine when I'm at Cryptozoic, it would be easier for me to carve out an hour for us to have a meeting in the office. And I'm happy to give you advice on establishing a comic book career. I have helped dozens of writers break into the industry. So if you ask Tom King who helped break his career, he will say John Nee did. So
Wow.
what was the other one that Deadly Class? I don't know Deadly. I mean, I don't know. Is it Scott Snyder who wrote that?
I don't think so. I can't
Yeah.
name the author off
Yeah.
top
So
of my
I'm
head.
happy to sit with you, and I don't comment like I don't know. I don't love comics personally, and it's because of the effort versus the engagement. So for me, I have really come to love making board games because making a board game is a lot of effort, and then people will engage with it either regularly, and that could be they're going to play this game once every 2 years to let me just tell this person I'm running a little late. To constantly, and so we made a game, a miniatures game with Ghostbusters that it's really gratifying that Macaulay Culkin, the kid from Home Alone, Freddie Prinze Jr., Freddie from the Scooby-Doo films, and Seth Green, the voice of Chris on Family Guy, get together and play that game weekly. Every week they play the Ghostbusters board game that we made. And that is so gratifying. So incredibly gratifying. And comics, like you're just on this treadmill churning this stuff out week after
Yeah.
week. And it's just like, and I like board games because they're an easier lift than a video game.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
yeah, let's set up some time. Do you guys know Atlas?
I do not.
They live in Gamer House, or I don't know where they live now. I think they may have moved on in life, but they do a webtoon, and so I think that the easiest way to distribute comics is on these vertical scrolling platforms like Tapas and Webtoons and Kakao. It's really hard to build an audience. If anyone's going to, I'd say a really good book, if anyone wants to read this book and then talk about it with me, it's called Hitmakers by Derek Thompson. And it really discusses how to be creative in this, new reality. So, all right. Did I answer your question or cause more questions?
Yeah, no, that was good. Thank you so much for the invitation. That would be incredible.
Okay. Do you live on campus?
Yeah, I do.
I wish I could live on campus. It's beautiful. Okay. Anyone else? Elaine, is that your dog?
Yeah, it is. But yeah, sorry I can't turn on my camera because I'm outside right now.
No,
But
it's totally fine.
but yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing your experience. And again, my sincere condolences for your loss.
Thank you so much.
So just briefly about myself. I'm not actually a games interactive media student. I'm actually a visual anthropology student at USC.
Fascinating. So is that at Dornsife?
Yeah, that's at Dornsife. And I'm basically considering a career pivot into game design. Because like my background is very academia heavy, but I do have like experience with like video editing and like other types of like multimedia design.
Okay.
So I was just wondering if you have any advice, and I'm definitely considering on taking your class after you mentioned it. But if you have any advice for how to maybe bridge the gap into getting to know more about the business side of the gaming industry outside of like formal education.
The class will cover a lot of that stuff. Ultimately, it's a business, and businesses run on the production of profit, and the main commodity that most businesses sell is not video games. They sell stock in their companies. And so I'm happy to run through all of the mechanical aspects of it, but those are very straightforward things that anyone can learn, because it's math doesn't have feelings. Okay. And I think that everyone should understand that. But, given your major, there's this book called Homo Ludens, Ludens, by, I can't remember, it's Huizinga. It's a,
Oh
I
yeah, I
think
see it on Google.
Yeah. And for what, and the whole point of that book is it is the anthropology of games.
Oh, cool.
Well, no, it's the anthropology of play.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And it was transformative for me in understanding how play is integrated, because play is not like the only difference between humans and mammals. And well, humans are mammals, but because it's not just primates, it's also it's just play is a fundamental behavior in mammals. Have you ever watched a pod of orcas play with a seal? They're not doing it for fun. I mean, it's kind of cruel. But they will literally like throw seals to each other while they're alive, or a cat playing with them. I mean, it's just like, it's ingrained in all of us, and it stems from the hunter-gatherer
Right.
survival need, and so you find some food and then you get that endorphin rush. And because the reality of the future of society, especially in this world where we are hitting AI, robotics, etc., is that the opportunity to have productive work is going to dramatically reduce in the coming decades. And that my thesis is that games will provide two key things that humans need in order to be fulfilled, and that is community and progression.
Right, right.
Okay, and so if do you play WoW? Have you played WoW?
Oh, World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
No, but I've seen a lot of research about, because there was this like virtual epidemic or something.
Yeah.
So I know of it, but I haven't played it.
Yeah, lots of people tell you that games are bad, but games, in my view, taught my children, resource management, leading, following, just some real core life skills. We're over time, and so I can take one or two other quick questions. Ed, if you are interested. Haley.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Haley. And I had a quick question. I was really interested to learn that you'd been involved in both comics and games, because I'm kind of interested in a lot of different areas. So would you say that the bridge between those is like publishing, or what would you say is kind of that connects the two?
It's IP. It really is, and so the thesis, and I hate this word, transmedia, is that the storytelling it doesn't matter what format it exists in, it's that it exists and services an audience, so I am insanely interested in tabletop RPGs, and I do believe that the shared storytelling experience is the last frontier in storytelling, and that really is this metaverse stuff that everyone's talking about. But it really comes down to making characters that people are connected to and care about. So, and again, if any of you guys want to set up time, I'm happy to have a more in-depth discussion with you. Or Ed, if you want me to come back later in the semester, I'm happy to do that. Or if we're able to put together like a pizza night or a game night, you guys are all invited. I'm going to start trying to do game nights once a week up here, and buy pizza and have people hang out.
For sure. I remember Luke talking about this earlier, but just to make sure that it's clear, we're totally down to host a pizza night.
Okay.
But you do have to give us like a huge heads up because SEA is very strict on food policy.
Okay. Well, we can do it off campus.
Oh, yeah, that would work too. Yeah.
But also I can't allow you guys to have alcohol. So, okay.
Sounds clean. Well,
Okay. I think we're
over time by quite a
yeah.
bit.
Yeah. So I'm going to jet. I've got another call to get to you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Johnny.
Thank you so much.
Everyone give him a round of applause, and I'll see you guys
Thank
next
you.
week.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.